Hi, I'm Libra, and welcome to your April 2019 Tarology 33 reading. We have a Celtic Cross spread in front of us, and that's a 10-card spread. You guys didn't get any extra cards that popped up there. Then we have 2 Oracle cards that we'll look at after the main spread, and also a Mudra card. So we'll get started with the cards in the main spread first. And in the main situation position, you guys have the 7 of Pentacles. So this is actually a card that represents the last 10 degrees of Taurus. So this could just be saying that you're working on something right now that might feel like it's not very fulfilling, or you might feel like you're not gaining a whole lot of traction on it. But if that's the case, maybe around the time of, let's say, between the 10th and 20th of May, you might start to see a little bit more of the reward from your work. Or for others of you, this could just be saying that you're actually shifting gears and possibly will be ready to leave something behind by that time. Could really go either way. When I usually see this card, I look at the person. I mean, they don't necessarily look like they're all that happy, right? So one way I look at this is maybe they're comparing what others have compared to them, right? So, this person might be saying to themselves, well, why does this person have all these and I've been working just as hard and I only have this, right? Or another way could be, I've put in a whole lot of work to get just this much, and I feel like I'm still working hard and I only have this much more to show for it. Is it really worth all the extra work it'll take me to have this much more again, right? So it could just be dissatisfaction, whether there's truly a reason for that dissatisfaction, or it's just a matter of you comparing where you are, or maybe where you thought you would be at this point compared to where you actually are. That's another way that could be playing out as well. But I mean, no matter how you slice it, this doesn't look like a very fulfilled energy, right? The person doesn't look like they're incredibly happy. And the way that I view the energy is a combination of Venus energy with Mercury. And then, also a bit of fixed energy in there. So it's like something you've probably been working on for a long time. And now you just get into that point where you're starting to question, should I continue to put in work and effort in this area? Or should I start to look at other avenues to put my time and energy into? Okay, in the challenger obstacle position, you got the 8 of Wands. So this represents communication typically, or also just a lot of activity in general. This is a Wands card. We usually default as tarot readers sometime to think of communication with this, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could just be a lot of activity that you're taking on. And, with it in the challenge position, that could just be saying that you're so bogged down with work that you're not able to really do a lot of other things right now. That's one way that could be playing out for you. Another way could be, let's say, with this in the challenger obstacle position as well, maybe because you're dissatisfied in let's say it's a work situation, it would be most likely with that, right? And maybe you're trying to look for an alternative path as far as earning income. And maybe the challenge is you're not hearing back, right? Maybe you've applied to a bunch of different places, but as of right now, you're not hearing anything back about that. If that's the case, it wouldn't surprise me as far as, you guys had Mercury retrograde. Well, I'm actually recording this right before the sun goes into Aries. I'm recording this on the 19th of March. So for those of you who don't watch this until April, if I, start talking about that stuff like it still hasn't happened, that's why. But I'll try to avoid doing that. But yeah, you guys have had Mercury retrograde in your 6th house for a lot of this month, and it's been making tough aspects with Jupiter and Neptune. So that could have just caused a lot of fog and confusion in that area of life, which, it represents your work, your day-to-day routines. So even if you did put yourself out there and apply to a bunch of different places, that could be part of why you haven't been hearing back. So that would be the bad news, right? The good news is the Mercury energy should start to clear up quite a bit. Worst case, midway through the month of April, because it'll start going direct again right at the end of March, and it's going to take it a little while before it's completely cleared itself out from that retrograde energy. And then on top of that, you guys will actually have Venus going into that house as well. So that should also help. So, if there has been some holdups, that Venus energy would definitely be helpful in that area. So, something to look forward to there. And then, not to mention as well, you guys have, another house that we look at when we think of career and things along those lines is the 10th house. And you guys actually have the North Node transiting through that house right now. So, there can definitely be shifts in that area of career, but usually, if you lose something, what ends up in its place does end up being better. So, there might be holdups with it right now, but in the long run, it'll probably work out well for you. All right, in the foundation position, you guys got the Devil card and the Page of Swords. So these two cards together, this is the Major Arcana card for Capricorn, which, technically represents your 4th house. There is a lot of stuff going on there too. You guys have Saturn traveling through that house, and Pluto's been there for a long time as well. Those are two pretty karmic planets. But what I would say is, with this energy here, I'm seeing it as maybe you're communicating with a Capricorn. Let's just get the most basic possibilities out of the way, right? Maybe reaching out to them. I say to people with the Page of Swords, one thing that I noticed when I was doing a personal reading a while back was that those trees there almost look like the Facebook F to me. So for some of you, you could be reaching out to someone via social networking to communicate with them in some way, shape, or form. But, I just had to get that out of the way. But I really think for what a lot of you, what this is going to mean, I see this as you're cutting something out of your life. And so it could be a few things. It could be a karmic connection, possibly, right? Maybe a karmic relationship you've been in that you realized, was toxic for you. And maybe that's what that 7 of Pentacles represents too. Maybe you've been with that person for a long time, but you're really looking at it like, yeah, do I want to continue to put in effort with this person, or do I want to cut my losses and move along, right? For others of you, it could just be cutting a toxic, even like we were saying with career, maybe a job that has been toxic for you. You're deciding that, what, I really want to cut this out of my life right now. Could also be an addiction of some kind as well, because with the Devil energy, it can represent addictions too. So, maybe this represents an addiction you're getting rid of. Like I said, I'm recording this right before the sun goes into Aries, and when it does, you guys are actually going to have a full moon in your sign, like right at 0 degrees, more or less, and it's going to be opposite Chiron. So that could be a pretty heavy full moon there. And then on top of that, in the month of April, you're also going to have another full moon in your sign. That one, for the most part, is going to be a little quieter. It's going to be somewhat close to squaring Pluto, but it's not a real tight square, so you might not feel that real intensely. But this one here, coming into the month of April, could actually be one of those pivotal points for you where you might, if there is something that you've held on to in some kind of way that's been toxic to you, that full moon opposite Chiron could help you cut that out. And even if we factor in the fact that it is at 0 degrees Libra, for a lot of you, that could still technically be a 12th moon, 12th house full moon for you, rather. And that's also a good time to let go of certain addictions that you've been holding on to. So, it could be anything, drinking, smoking, maybe just smoking cigarettes, right? I mean, you could definitely point to that being a possibility there if we look at the, what he's holding in his hand there, could be smoking, could be anything though, could be overeating, you name it. Just any addictive tendency that's been holding you back in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that full moon really helped you cut that out of your life. All right, in the past position, speaking of the moon, once again, we have the moon card here. So this could definitely just be saying that the full moon for you guys. Now I'm thinking, like I said, the one leading into April rather than the one that you guys actually will have in April. This could just be pointing to this being an important time when something comes to light for you. Some people look at the moon card and say that it points to deception, and maybe if it's in the reverse, I would agree with that. But for me, usually it's just more of something that, all right, think of the sun being out versus the moon being out, right? When the sun's out, everything that you see here, you could see it clearly, right? And then some, because of the sunlight. Now, when the moon is out, everything that was there when the sun was out is still there, but you just might not be able to see it as clearly. So usually, you have to feel things out a little bit more in that regard. So, you might want to try to get in tune with your emotions and, trust your intuition a little bit during that moon. But that's what I'm really feeling that this is just pointing to, that full moon energy, because like I said, it can be a pretty powerful one. All right, in the present position, we have the Page of Wands. So, most likely, I think that this is you. It could be another person, though. If it is, most likely be a fire sign. This doesn't typically point to a specific fire sign for me, so it could be any, or just someone who's ready to take action in some way, shape, or form. I have a feeling, like I said, most likely for most of you, this is going to represent your energy. Now, with it being a page, it might be something that you don't fully feel ready in and fully comfortable and confident in, but you just might feel like you just have this urge to finally make that move. This could be travel for some of you too. I usually look at that page and I look at how, it almost reminds me of the pyramids in the background there. So it's like maybe some of you are going to be taking some kind of a long distance trip. That's certainly within the realm of possibility, because right when April starts, you're going to have Mars move into your 9th house of Gemini. So that could definitely give you the impetus to make some kind of a move like that. All right, in the near future position, we have the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So usually with the aces, I always say, well, let me put in the upright while we talk about it. So usually with the aces, what I say is, to me, you don't tangibly possess them at that point. To me, when it's an ace, it's more like it's in the idea stage. Like if we look at that hand, I almost say it's like something that's up in the cloud, right? It's just an idea at this stage. It's not something that really is fully formulated and has a firm, okay, this is how I'm going to get the money, or this is when I'm going to get the money, right? It's just more of an idea, something that was discussed. So with it in the reverse, this leads me to believe that, maybe something that you were trying to get off the ground falls through in some way. And maybe that's what the Seven of Pentacles could be about as well. Maybe, again, with that Eight of Wands in the challenge position, maybe even waiting on word about finances, right? Maybe you were promised a raise or something like that and it's not coming through. Or you just, you have plans for, maybe you want to spend money on something, right? But there's a delay with getting the money that you need to do it. So let's say you have a delay in taxes, right? Since this is April, for those of you in the States, this is tax time for us. So it could even be something like that. Maybe you're supposed to have your tax money by a certain point. Maybe you were banking on that, no pun intended, to make your trip, and now you find out, oh, there's a delay in when you're going to actually have the money. That could be how that's playing out. But like I said, the good thing is, with Venus moving through the 6th house, all of the miscommunications and confusion that might have been taking place for you guys through most of March and maybe even part of February, it should be cleared up as we move through April. So, it might not be a long-term thing, but, maybe even just something needs to be renegotiated too. That could also be how it works out. All right, in the position of your influence on the situation, we have the King of Cups. So, this is the court card for Scorpio. So, for a lot of you guys, if you're a Libra placement, let's say you're a Libra sun, right? For a lot of you, that would mean maybe your Mercury and or Venus could easily be in the sign of Scorpio. So that could be what that's pointing to there. Others of you could obviously be dealing with a Scorpio, but primarily what I see with this is it's saying that this is you just focused on finances, because Scorpio represents your second house. So this could just be saying that you're really focusing on your finances. They're on your mind right now, and you're really trying to process, okay, what should my next move be? It's not really much going on in Scorpio, so there's not really much to speak on as far as that goes. So I don't think there's really, something about a specific transit or anything along those lines. So yeah, that's primarily what I'm getting. It's just pointing to being focused on your finances. And with that fixed energy, it's usually, saying that you're really ready to dig in and get something done. All right, in the position of the environment, we have the Six of Swords. So usually this means, you could almost see from the artwork, usually it means moving away from something. Leaving something behind. So to me, this could either be someone moving away from you in some way, shape, or form. But I'm picking up more on this if we look at that Devil and Page of Swords energy again. Sometimes the environment, yes, it could represent another person, but it could also just be pointing to the energies at play and how they're impacting you. So for a lot of you, I'm seeing this as you actually moving on from something. Maybe something you've invested a decent amount of time in, but it could. I really feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be tied to that full moon that we're going to have right at the end of March. Like I said, by the time I post this, the full moon will be about to happen, basically. So hopefully, if you guys catch it early on and you're feeling that way, this will help you get some perspective on it. But I think, you could have like a flash of insight in some way with that full moon, and it makes you realize that there's something or someone you need to leave behind and, just move on, basically. And this represents the middle 10 degrees of Aquarius. So the last thing that was happening in those degrees, actually, I think basically, like, let's say between the 10th and 20th of March, I believe, was when when Venus was traveling through those degrees too. So maybe this was something for those of you who are watching this in April, maybe something around that time, something that took place during that time was what gave you that insight and made you realize it was time to move on from something. But for some of you, this could absolutely mean someone's moving away from you, and this could also point to the travel that I was talking about as well. Like we said, with Mars moving into your 9th house, maybe you'll be taking some kind of a trip. All right, in the hopes or fears position, you have the Hanged Man. So to me, this is actually a Pisces card. So some of you could be hoping to connect with a Pisces. Maybe you're hoping to see something from a different perspective in that area of life. Like I said, that's your 6th house. So that would be work, daily routine. Maybe something's just grown stale for you in your work life, right? It's not necessarily that you're like, oh, I hate my job, but you're like, okay, maybe because you're so focused on finances, you're like, well, I need something else in my life to help out the fact that, I'm not getting a lot of enjoyment in my life because I'm focusing so much on work. I don't have time to see my friends as much or whatever the case may be, right? So you're just looking, maybe you're hoping for a different, perspective on how you could free up your time, how you could change up your daily schedule to allow for you to have more fun, right? Especially with the Fool at the bottom of the deck, too. Just be saying that you're really ready for a fresh start or for, just for things to change up for you. And that could be why this is coming up in that position for you. Now, if we're to view this as a fear, because it could be either one, it's hard to tell with that card, but if that's a fear, it could just be saying you fear getting stuck, right? So again, like I said, for those of you who view the energy this way, where you're like, oh, okay, it took me this long to get this much. How much longer is it going to take me to get that much again, right? So you might just feel like you're stuck in a dead end situation. And maybe, like I said, you've been making attempts to get out of it by applying to different jobs or whatever the case may be, but you just hadn't been hearing back yet. All right, and then in the outcome position, we have the Knight of Cups. And this is actually the court card for Pisces. So once again, for some of you, it's definitely possible that you could be dealing with a Pisces and possibly connecting with them in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily romantic, but it could be. But what this could also point to is some movement in that area of your life, forward movement. Like I said, you guys are going to have Venus moving through that sign for a good chunk of April. So maybe all of that stagnant energy that you've been hoping for change with it, maybe this is saying that Knight of Cups is basically that Venus energy mixing in with the Pisces energy and helping to clear it away from any confusion and holdups that there might have been in that area of life for you up to this point. And I mean, on a more mundane level, could also be you making a love offer to someone or vice versa. I mean, we do have to point out, the sun will be in your opposite sign, so there's definitely the possibility for starting relationships as well. But yeah. So the first oracle card you guys got is Milk and Honey. There's the artwork for it. And the number is 51. Take a look at that first. All right, it says essential meanings: the taste of prosperity, opportunities born of authenticity, nurturing abundance, trusting that your needs will be met. The oracle's message: you've entered a sweet time in your life, enjoying the land of milk and honey that everyone wants to experience. It's an interlude that feels more languid than ambitious, when all your senses are awake to the unlimited possibilities in the universe. These times are precious and only come when you're in an authentic zone, wearing the world as a loose garment, not wanting, yet able to be nourished in ways both tangible and subtle. Abundance is an energy that you are a living part of. All your needs are being met. You are given the gift of nourishment in every form. Now, to be fair, I don't necessarily see that wouldn't play out in this spread, but I do have more of a feeling that, especially with the energies that I mentioned astrologically speaking, and then having the Knight of Cups in the outcome position there, that you might not feel that vibe early on in the month of April, but as the month progresses, you should start to feel that energy a bit more. Okay, the relationship message says sensuality, connection, and passionate romance between lovers, sweet moments of understanding, and love among friends and family are all here for you to savor now. Your heart's calling will be answered. Let your thoughts and feelings be sweet with gratitude, and you'll be nourished with honey of abundance. Okay, and then the prosperity message says there is only one authentic you. This version of yourself is Spirit's emissary in the world. When you're in alignment with the truth that you are a unique expression of the divine, your ego can rest and your soul can illuminate your purpose. Now is the time when you're seeking your true north. When you find this direction, you automatically step into prosperity, and the world brings you evidence of abundance. Miracles are a choice and a way of seeing the world. With every choice you make right now, you have the potential to seize good fortune and embrace your destiny. Opportunities will lead you to your best life now. Be open to them. You're getting a sweet taste of what you want. So, I mean, that's a pretty positive message there as well, and another thing that comes to mind too, going back to that devil card with the Page of Swords, since Capricorn represents your fourth house, this could even be a belief that you've had, from your early upbringing, right? Like maybe a certain way you were raised, and maybe you're starting to question, does that fit with what's, with where you want to go with your life, right? Maybe you've just always had this belief that, oh, things have to be a certain way, right? And now you're coming to realization, wait, does that work for me actually? And maybe you're cutting that out of your life. That could be another way that's playing out as well. That just came to me, so hopefully that resonates for some of you. But yeah, we'll look at the other oracle deck as well. So the other card you guys got, this one's from the spirit animal deck, is the Wombat Spirit. It says be at home. There's the artwork for it, and it's number 68. Alright, it says, burrowing deep into the ground, remaining safe, sound, and well fed with family is a special trait of the wombat. Home sweet home is always available if you recognize that well-being is the truth of life. Wombat Spirit reminds you that to be truly at home in the world, you need to find comfort within your own skin. You do this by accepting all your experience without judgment, through a deep honesty and love of life. When you feel the freedom to be yourself, you can begin to truly feel at home in your life with your family and tribe. Right now, you're in a beautiful place where you can hang up the coat of your identity and settle into a true sense of home and well-being, understanding that all is well. Everything you do from this place rings true in harmony with spirit. So, again, going back to what we already covered, maybe it's just saying that you're leaving some things behind that, realize aren't true to you, right? So maybe that could be, again, what that Six of Swords energy is pointing to there as well, certain belief of how you felt you needed to be or thought you had to be. Maybe you're letting that go this month, shedding that with the Devil card there and the Page of Swords in the foundation. Alright, and then the last thing we have is a Mudra card. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, basically, this year, for all the signs, I've been pulling Mudra cards. And what mudras are gestures that you basically hold while meditating. Hold them for 5 minutes, and if you're more accustomed to meditating, you can hold them for half hour, 45 minutes, you name it. But basically what their purpose is there to help clear up blockages. Sometimes they could be physical blockages, other times, just more on a mental, emotional plane. But this is the specific mudra that you guys got for this month, and it's the Ajna Chakra Mudra. And the keyword for it is clarity. So I'll just flip the card over and, give you guys some time if you want to pause it or take a screenshot to read what it says. Let me get it to focus first. There we go. Okay, and then I'll move it up so you could see the rest of what it had to say as well. Alright, so yeah, it says it awakens the Ajna chakra, opens spiritual vision, stimulates the pituitary gland, clarifies the mind, improves concentration and intuition. So, if you feel that that's something that will be helpful for you, what I'll do is I'll also put the name of that mudra in your description if you wanted to look into it some more. Also, if you wanted to book a private reading with me, I'll put some information regarding that in the description as well. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, we have a little bit more fun with tarot and astrology there. But if not, I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.